Christmas Eve, 1955. Snow drifted silently over Colorado Springs, blanketing the imposing fortress-like structure nestled against the Rocky Mountains. Behind these thick concrete walls, the Continental Air Defense Command, CONAD, maintained its endless vigil over American skies. While families across the nation trimmed trees and wrapped presents, inside this classified facility, the men and women of CONAD watched their radar screens with unwavering attention. In the height of the Cold War, even Christmas Eve could bring unthinkable threats. Colonel Harry Shoup, a decorated Air Force officer with steel gray hair and perfect military posture, sat at his command post. The weight of responsibility pressed down on his shoulders, heavier than the medals on his uniform. Around him, massive maps covered the walls, each blip on the radar screens potentially signaling America's darkest hour. Imagine being responsible for protecting an entire nation on Christmas Eve. What do you think would be going through your mind? Share your thoughts in the comments below. The command center hummed with quiet tension, officers speaking in hushed tones, the soft beeping of radar equipment creating an endless rhythm of vigilance. Colonel Shoup glanced at the framed photo on his desk, his own children, probably already tucked into bed, waiting for Santa's arrival. Then, it happened. The red phone rang, its harsh tone cutting through the quiet like a knife. Every head in the command center snapped to attention. This phone, this specific phone, meant only one thing: direct contact from the highest levels of command, or worse. Colonel Shoup's heart thundered in his chest, his training kicking in as he reached for the receiver. In the split second before he answered, 1,000 scenarios raced through his mind, each more devastating than the last. Had the Soviets chosen Christmas Eve to strike? Before they had trained for the parade would never come. What would you expect to hear on a top-secret military hotline on Christmas Eve? Type your guess in the comments, then keep watching to see if you're right. With practiced calm, masking his racing pulse, Colonel Shoup lifted the receiver. His voice carried the authority of a man prepared for any crisis as he answered, "Colonel Shoup, Commander Officer." But the voice that responded wasn't the grave tone of a military officer, or the urgent warning of an early detection system. Instead, a small, trembling voice asked, "Is this Santa Claus?" In that moment, 1955 was a year balanced on a knife's edge of history. Americans lived each day under the shadow of potential nuclear war. Children practiced duck and cover drills in schools, families built backyard fallout shelters, and military installations like CONAD maintained constant readiness for the unthinkable. Colonel Shoup, like many of the men and women serving that Christmas Eve, had seen the world change dramatically since World War II. The Allied victory had given way to an uncertain peace, as former allies became potential enemies. The Cold War wasn't just a political standoff. It was a daily reality that shaped every aspect of American life. Can you imagine living in a time when every unexpected sound might signal disaster? Share your thoughts about how different life must have been. Inside homes across Colorado, that same Christmas Eve held a very different kind of anticipation. The Sears Roebuck Company, America's retail giant, had placed a special advertisement in the local newspaper. "Hey, kiddies," it read, "call Santa Claus direct, talk to him live on the telephone." Parents smiled as their children carefully dialed the number, excited to share their Christmas wishes with Santa himself. But somewhere in the printing process, something had gone terribly, wonderfully, wrong. A single mistyped digit meant those hopeful calls weren't reaching a festive Santa's workshop, they were connecting directly to one of America's most sensitive military installations. Colonel Shoup, still gripping the red phone, felt the weight of command pressing down. His military training had prepared him for countless scenarios, but not this. What should he do with this small voice, asking for Santa Claus on a line reserved for national emergencies? What do you think was going through Colonel Shoup's mind in that moment? Was this a security breach, or something else entirely? Share your thoughts below. The irony wasn't lost on him. Here he sat, monitoring for Soviet bombers, while children's Christmas wishes found their way through America's most sophisticated defense systems. But before he could respond, another call lit up the board, and another. Each one bringing not warnings of attack, but the innocent hopes of children on Christmas Eve. His fellow officers watched, waiting to see how their commander would handle this unprecedented situation. The security of the nation rested on their vigilance, but now, that same dedication was being tested in a very different way. Colonel Shoup drew a deep breath, years of military discipline warring with something else, something that sparked in his eyes as he remembered his own children waiting at home. In that moment, he made a decision that would echo through decades of Christmas Eves to come. Clearing his throat, adjusting his posture, Colonel Shoup did something extraordinary. His stern military voice softened as he spoke into the red phone. Ho ho ho. This is Santa Claus. I'm helping out CONAD this evening. What would your reaction be, if you called Santa, and reached a military command center, only to have Santa answer anyway? Share your surprised reaction in the comments. Around the command center, trained military personnel watched in amazement as their commanding officer, a man known for his unwavering dedication to protocol, transformed into Santa's helper. Some smiled, others stood shocked, but all witnessed something remarkable unfolding. As more calls flooded in, Colonel Shoup made another unprecedented decision. Looking around the room at his highly trained radar operators, he issued what might have been the most unusual orders of his military career. Servicemen, we have a new mission. Tonight, we're tracking Santa. The radar operators, men and women trained to spot incoming Soviet bombers, now found themselves tracking a very different kind of airborne visitor. Their sophisticated equipment, designed to protect against nuclear war, became tools for Christmas magic. If you were a radar operator that night, how would you describe Santa's flight path to excited children? Leave your creative response below. One operator called out coordinates over the Atlantic, another spotted something unusual over Greenland. With each passing hour, the spirit of Christmas began to transform the command center. Military precision remained, but now it served a higher purpose, bringing joy to children across the country. Colonel Shoup watched as his team embraced their new mission with the same dedication they brought to national defense. They created detailed reports of Santa's location, calculated his speed, even estimated his altitude as he delivered presents across the globe. Back at homes across Colorado, children listened in wonder as real military officers provided updates on Santa's journey. Parents, who might have been worried about wrong numbers and military secrets, found themselves drawn into a magical moment where the serious business of national defense yielded to Christmas wonder. As Christmas morning dawned over Colorado Springs, Colonel Shoup and his team had no idea that their improvised response would become something far more lasting. Word of CONAD's Christmas Eve mission spread quickly. Newspapers caught wind of the story. Military tracks Santa. The headlines declared. Letters began arriving at the base, not marked top secret, as or classified, but addressed simply to Santa's helpers at the military. If you could write a letter to those first military Santa trackers, what would you say to them? Share your message in the comments. The following year, Colonel Shoup faced an unexpected dilemma. As Christmas approached, children were already calling, asking if the military would track Santa again. Looking at his team, the colonel made another momentous decision. This wouldn't be a one-time accident, it would become their special Christmas mission. In the corner of the command center, where stern military maps usually dominated, holiday decorations began appearing. Radar operators found themselves practicing new phrases. Santa's sleigh maintaining optimal cruising altitude. Reindeer power systems functioning perfectly. Present delivery capabilities at maximum efficiency. But perhaps most remarkable was how this children's Christmas tradition flourished in the very heart of America's military defense. The same phone lines that stood ready to warn of nuclear attack now rang with children's laughter. The same radar screens that searched for hostile aircraft now tracked Santa's peaceful mission. What do you think this tradition meant to the military personnel who worked Christmas Eve? Type your thoughts below. When NORAD replaced CONAD in 1958, they didn't just inherit the responsibility of defending North American airspace, they embraced their special Christmas mission with equal dedication. The tradition grew, evolved, and became more sophisticated with each passing year. Today, NORAD's Santa tracking operation has grown beyond anything Colonel Shoup could have imagined. The command center on Christmas Eve now hums with a special kind of energy. Sophisticated satellite systems, jet fighter cameras, and special Santa cams, positioned around the globe, create an intricate web of holiday surveillance. But at its heart, the mission remains the same as that first unexpected phone call. With all of today's technology, how would you design a Santa tracking system? Share your creative ideas in the comments. Each Christmas Eve, over 1,500 volunteers staff the phones and computers. Military personnel, their families, and civilian volunteers work in 2-hour shifts, answering more than 150,000 calls from children around the world. Some callers speak different languages, some are too shy to speak at all, but each one receives the same dedication Colonel Shoup showed that first night. Inside the modern NORAD facility, uniformed service members still balance their serious defense duties with their special Christmas mission. A lieutenant colonel might pause from monitoring aerospace defense to assure a worried 5-year-old that yes, Santa knows about their new house. A radar specialist might track weather patterns over the Pacific, then report on optimal flying conditions for reindeer. The internet age has expanded the tradition even further. NORAD's Santa Tracker website receives nearly 20 million visitors from more than 200 countries each year. Children can now watch Santa's journey in real time, following his progress across detailed 3D maps of the globe. Have you ever tracked Santa through NORAD? Share your favorite tracking memory in the comments below. Fighter pilots, who stand ready to intercept any threat to North American airspace, now report glimpses of a very special aircraft on Christmas Eve. Canadian CF-18s and American F-15s sometimes catch sight of a red sleigh, high above the clouds, moving at speeds that defy their instruments. Colonel Shoup, who passed away in 2009, never forgot that first child's voice on the red phone. In his later years, his eyes would mist over when he spoke about that Christmas Eve. The man who became known as the Santa Colonel would often say, "Of all the things I did in the military, this is my greatest accomplishment." His office, once filled with strategic maps and defense protocols, eventually overflowed with children's letters, drawings of Santa's sleigh on radar screens, and heartfelt thanks from generations of families. What do you think Colonel Shoup would say if he could see how his simple act of kindness has touched millions of lives? Share your thoughts below. The story of NORAD's Santa tracker reminds us of something profound. In the midst of the Cold War, when the world held its breath in fear of nuclear war, a military command center became a beacon of Christmas hope. A wrong number, and one man's choice to answer it with kindness, created a legacy that continues to bring joy to millions. Today, when children ask their parents if Santa is real, many families turn to NORAD's tracking system as proof. The most sophisticated military organization in the world, with its advanced technology and dedicated personnel, still take time each Christmas Eve to track Santa's magical journey. Perhaps the most remarkable part is how this tradition bridges worlds that seemed so far apart. The same organization that monitors the skies for threats now helps keep the magic of Christmas alive. The same red phone that once struck fear now brings smiles and wonder. How does it make you feel, knowing that the same people who protect our skies also help protect the magic of Christmas? Leave your response in the comments. And somewhere, perhaps, the spirit of Colonel Shoup still watches over this operation he never meant to create, smiling as military satellites track a very special sleigh across the winter night sky, proving that sometimes, the most extraordinary traditions come from the most unexpected wrong numbers. As NORAD continues this cherished tradition, they honor not just the magic of Christmas, but the power of one person's choice to transform a mistake into a miracle, reminding us all that even in the darkest times, there's always room for wonder, always space for kindness, and always a chance for magic to shine through.